this video, I'm going to talk about the basic pieces of the paragraph panel. There are other pieces, parts to the paragraph panel that are a little more complicated, and you can find those in other videos, particularly the drop caps and pull quotes video. There's a separate video for the paragraph shading, and there's a separate video for the spine align buttons. But in this video, we're going to go over the alignment buttons, the justify buttons, and the first section of paragraph indenting controls. So I have a text field full of text. It is selected, and I can change the alignment using these alignment buttons. So we have align left, which it already is, align center, and align right. And we also tend to call align left and align right justify left, justify right. But we can also fully justify it using these next buttons. Each of these buttons fully justifies the entire paragraph except for the last sentence of the paragraph, and each button does something different with that last sentence. So this first button, it aligns that last line left. The next button centers that last line, and the third button right aligns that last line, and the fourth button of the justify buttons fully justifies all lines, including that last line. You do need to be careful though, because the way it justifies is by adding extra big spaces in between some of the words, and sometimes you get these weird little patterns of white, we call them rivers of white, that look odd. So be careful when you do that. I tend not to justify things, but sometimes you have to. Alright, so the next area that we're going to talk about is the indent. Let's say I wanted to indent just this paragraph but not the one above. I can select that paragraph and use the left indent control. So I'm just going to do that a couple times so you can see that it moves. I'm going to bring that back so we have it back the way it was. And then I can also right align or indent it on the right side. So by using this control right here, the right indent. Alright, so there we go. Now the next control in this area is the first line indent control. So the one on the left controls the left indent of the first line, and the one on the right, if you click it, it won't do anything. That's because we're left aligned. But if I go to right align, now you can see it is also moving. Alright, so I'm going to bring these back to 0. And then we're going to skip down to the hyphenation control. I'm going to right align, go back, put everything back to 0. Alright, so now you can see if you look in this paragraph, there's only one hyphenated word here, but down here there's a couple, there's like 3 almost right together. I don't like having hyphenations in my documents, particularly because I do a lot of commercial documents, and names of companies, names of important people, places. It's not good to hyphenate those. People don't like that. So there's an easy way to undo that. If you just make sure your paragraph text box or your text box is selected, you can go to the paragraph panel and just simply uncheck hyphenate down here, and then you can see it takes it all away. It does create a more jagged edge, but I prefer that myself to having the hyphenations. You can also take the hyphenations out and then justify it. Again, you have to watch out for those weird patterns, but that's another way that you can do it. You can also unselect hyphenate in the InDesign preferences so that this is by default unchecked. When you first get InDesign, it is by default checked.